One of the number one phrases and mentalities that we hear from most real estate professionals is, go ahead, buy now. You won't regret it. The best time to buy real estate was 10 years ago. The next best time to buy real estate is today, right? We've all heard those sayings before. While there is a partial truth to some of it, because holding real estate for the long term can help you gain wealth. That is indisputable, guys. But the main thing that most industry professionals are looking at right now, that they're using to try to push people into home ownership is, hey, listen, inventory is so low, and now that the Fed has decided to pause the interest rates where they're at now, but likely will continue to raise them throughout the rest of the year, that means that mortgage rates are going to remain high for the foreseeable future, which I agree with. It's true. But that's the reason that they're saying, the latest reason of why you should buy now. Let's jump over some of these puddles. Now, there was a new report from Redfin today talking about how home sales in the US have dropped 6% from a year ago, and this is the biggest decline in home sales that we've seen in the past 13 months. And new listings are down by 23% right now. We literally have 39% fewer homes for sale today than we had in 2018. But I find it interesting when they come out with these reports and some of the narratives they try to spin with this data, because check this out. They said that pending home sales are down by 17% year over year, okay? Which is a true fact. They're saying, though, it's not due to a lack of demand because mortgage applications went up 8% last week. Okay, who are you kidding right now, guys? Let's pull up the chart of mortgage applications and look how abysmally low they are right now. So Redfin is trying to tell us that there's still demand because mortgage applications went up 8% in a week. Let's not forget that we are still in the midst of the spring/summer home buying season, guys. This is when
you are currently being recorded.
Did you hear that? I am currently being recorded. So are you. Interesting.
Hi.
Again.
You are currently being recorded.
Creepy. Now, the funny thing to me about this is Redfin is saying how, the demand is still there, even though we can look at historical mortgage applications and see how low it is. So that's just a flat out lie. The thing that people need to understand right now that makes it look like demand is still high is just the fact that inventory is so low, guys. It makes it look like demand is high because there's just not that many houses out there to be sold, okay? So the people who are still in the market to buy make it look like demand is hot, okay? But add another million listings to the mix, it's not going to look like demand is so hot anymore. They're also claiming that the request for new home tours is up over the past couple of weeks. Like, yeah, no kidding, guys. This is, kids just got out of school. It's summer. People are looking for a house. Whoever's going to be in the market to look to buy is probably doing it right now as I'm making this video. But they're saying that this means that there's a fair amount of pent-up buyer demand and that many buyers will be ready to pounce on the market when more homes come online. What do you think? Do you think you're just going to see a massive surge in buyers out there pick up if we had a bunch of new listings come up tomorrow? Maybe, but the problem is still the biggest challenge is affordability, guys. Like, we have covered this numerous times on the channel. Your household literally needs to have a six-figure income right now to afford the median price home in the United States. That's about $430,000. Like, that's just a fact right now because that's what the high interest rates do. In fact, a couple years ago, before the interest rates were this high and the prices were this high, you could have a household income of like 70 grand a year and buy the same house. Now you need to have a six-figure income to buy that same house just a couple years later. That's how far out of control things have gotten. But Redfin wants you to believe that the best time to buy is now. But they even have hints of truth in their statements, guys, because listen to this sentence from this Redfin story. Demand outpacing supply is preventing home prices from falling drastically. They use the word drastically. And this is the same exact sentiment that I've been echoing here on the channel for months now. Like, this is literally the only thing guys, that's keeping prices from falling. But yet they're saying that if inventory went up, there would be a slew of buyers to go out there and buy those homes. Well, yeah, if they were priced properly, then people would be out there buying them. But if they're pricing them at where things are at today, no one would be buying them because no one can afford them. Now, one of Redfin's researchers, Chen Zhao, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, he says that people who are sitting on the sidelines waiting for mortgage rates to decline should know that it's unlikely to happen in the foreseeable future. If a home that's in your price range and has everything on your wish list hits the market, there's no good reason to wait. What's the problem with this statement? If a home in your price range hits the market, right? That's the issue, guys. Homes in no one's price range are hitting the market these days, right? Everything that we see on these walks are insanely expensive. You know, you could look at everybody who lives and works here in Miami Beach, probably only the top 1%, maybe even less, can actually afford some of these ridiculously priced houses that we see on these walks. But if you are looking to catch a falling knife, there are places right now where home prices are coming down pretty substantially, guys. Prices in Austin, Texas down 13.1% year over year right now. Las Vegas is a good place for that, down 9% year over year. Oakland, California is down 7.4% year over year. Phoenix, Arizona is down 6.9%, and Los Angeles is down 6.7%. Now, those are small discounts on grossly overpriced homes. I get it, but it's a place to watch, and it's not like places like that are going to go down to being, you know, prices of the Midwest. It's not going to happen, guys. But you can use your best judgment if you're interested in these areas and kind of more or less figure out what price range you're going to be comfortable with purchasing at in these areas, and when it hits it, then go for it. But here's another interesting point from this Redfin article, and that is the month supply, okay? Inventory is at ultra low levels right now, but coincidentally, the month supply is actually up, okay? We have 2.6 months of supply on the US housing market right now, which is up from 2.1 months a year ago. So this clearly still puts the US housing market in a seller's market. But the interesting thing to gather from this is that even though inventory is lower than it was a year ago, supply is up. And what does that mean? It means that homes are not selling, and whatever is selling is taking longer to sell. So the velocity at which these listings are moving is a lot slower than it was a year ago, which makes sense due to higher interest rates. And this is the thing that everybody needs to understand about the effect that interest rates have on the US housing market. The higher interest rates are, and the longer that they remain higher, the longer it's going to continue to take to sell whatever inventory that does come on the market. So we don't even need 1 million new listings to hit the market for the housing market to see price declines, because that's the only way people can afford homes, is either the price comes down or the interest rates come down. Well, you just heard it from Redfin themselves and the Fed that interest rates aren't going to be coming down anytime soon.
You know, sometimes people just hit the jackpot in life, and I think the owners of this house is a great example of that. They had this house for sale for about 2.9 million. They tried getting 3.3, didn't work out. But whenever they sell this house, they're going to make a fortune because they inherited this house back in 2013 for only $118,000, which is obviously nothing compared to what they're selling it for. And they must be the luckiest property owners in Miami Beach right now because they're only paying $6,600 a year for property taxes. I don't know how that slips by and how that's possible, but good for them.
But then the real question does become, are we going to see the inventory? Well, we know foreclosures are starting to tick up because delinquencies are up. But that takes a long time for those properties to hit the market. So who knows how much of an impact that's going to have. And you have most home sellers or would-be home sellers saying that they want to see interest rates come down before they decide to sell, right? Well, if that's the case, we might not see new listings come on the market for maybe another year or more, if that's what's going to happen, which means that the housing market may remain essentially frozen. But then, of course, if we enter an official recession, that can change everything. That's something else that has yet to be seen. And speaking of recession, there was a fascinating story today from USA Today talking about how 64% of Americans that they surveyed would welcome a recession right now if it meant lower mortgage rates. So once again, people have this obsession. They want to buy a home, even though it is far more expensive than renting in many cases right now, but doesn't matter. Still want to buy the house. 82% of the people that they surveyed said that they believe that our country is facing an unprecedented housing affordability crisis right now, and that they want to have a recession. Well, first of all, if you want to have a recession, stop going out there and spending like there's no tomorrow and driving up debt on the credit cards, because that will help bring on the recession faster. And the other thing is, stop trying to buy a house, guys. Take a break. Like we're talking about here, Redfin says buy it now, buy it now, buy it now. All the real estate agents will tell you buy it now, buy it now. But if more people would be on board with waiting and be smarter about this, then naturally that might help bring on the recession, and it might help lower prices, just because more people are moving in the herd mentality of let's wait this thing out versus I have to get it now or I'll never get it. And it's really sad, because literally 61% of the people surveyed that have never been able to buy a house now think that they'll never be able to buy one if things remain like this. Well, one thing we know from history for sure is that things always change, so it's not going to remain like this forever. There's going to be something that's going to come along and happen that's going to change things. And if you really think you're missing out, guys, well, take a look at this part of the survey, because this is part of the data that USA Today collected. Among the people who bought homes in the past year, 46% of them says that they are struggling to afford their mortgage payments due to the high interest rates, okay? And a lot of these people are banking on the ability to be able to refinance at some point down the road when rates come down. But if and when rates come down, there's a good chance that home values will be coming down right around the same time, making it virtually impossible to refinance at that moment, because most people just won't have the equity because they never put enough equity into the house to begin with. So not only about half of the buyers who bought in the last year remorseful about their purchase, but also 84% of those home buyers said that they had to make big sacrifices in order to buy a home, okay? And some of those sacrifices are things like they had to stop spending on non-necessities in order to save more money for the down payment, right? They took on a side hustle to make extra money to save for the down payment. They compromised on the home. They gave up the fenced yard. They gave up the open floor plan. They gave up the finished basement. And they also bought a smaller home than they wanted. So ask yourself this right now, when you hear all this buy now, are those compromises that you're willing to make right now? Are you willing to buy a smaller house? Are you willing to move to a neighborhood you don't want to? Are you willing to give up features that you want to have in a home, even though you're paying top dollar for it? Because if you're not, then buying's probably not for you, guys. But use your own judgment with this. You know, I'm just trying to be the voice of reason here on this channel, because every time I see reports like this from Redfin and, you know, the National Association of Realtors or whoever else is trying to get people to FOMO into the market at the moment, I'm trying to remind people that there is value in having patience. And also, I'm here to remind you that if you are looking to be a home buyer in today's market, get ready to make these sacrifices, because this is literally what people did over the past year to be able to get into a house right now. And this survey also highlights how ignorant people are when it comes to the housing market and how much they just don't know. Guys, they hear what mainstream media says about things and they believe it, because 31% of the people are fine with locking in a high interest rate now because they're saying we'll just refinance later. Well, that's what everybody thinks that they can do, guys. But the reality is that might not be an option when the rates actually do come down. So what is your game plan then? You know what I'm saying? Have you thought about this? Because if you haven't, it's time to start thinking about it. And believe me, you know, Redfin, National Association of Realtors, mainstream media, they could care less if you're struggling to pay for your house right now. They don't care, guys. They have the agenda to push. You know, these guys are in the business of selling homes, okay? So they're never going to come out and say, oh yeah, well, maybe you should wait till next year and see what happens with this recession first. No, they're not going to say that, ever. And literally every day when I'm combing through different news stories, planning out these videos, I am seeing stories on a daily basis telling people that they should be tapping into their home equity, okay? There was a story recently that you might have heard that the average homeowner's equity is down by about $5,400 right now in 2023, but you should be looking for ways to tap that equity while you still have it. What? What kind of advice is that, guys? Borrow against the most valuable thing you have in your life, which is your house, and if you don't have it, you don't have a place to live, and don't worry about the debt payments, don't worry about unemployment going up, don't worry about the recession, just borrow the equity now while you can. That is literally what these stories are telling people to do, and they're showing people how to do it. Now, people complain that, I'm always negative, and I'm saying the housing market's gonna crash, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, answer me this, guys. Would you rather have me be on here telling you that you should be out there borrowing your home equity right now in such an unstable economy right now? Tell me, is that what you want to hear from me? Because if it is, I'll start making those videos. But you need to let me know. Do you want me to tell you different ways that you can leverage yourself up to your eyeballs in debt right now? And, the best ways to file for bankruptcy after you do that? Is that the kind of content that you want to see from me? Because I feel like that's the only alternative right now to what I'm doing. Check this out. They just demolished the house over here. Another huge bayfront lot, ripe for development. But I guess the good news is that not everybody is taking the bait with these buy now stories, because there was a separate survey recently from Realtor.com. Only 7% of home buyers say that they're moving forward with a house purchase right now no matter what, which is not very many, guys. You're talking less than 10%. And here are the reasons that the home buyers that they surveyed are taking a step back from buying right now, or taking a look at sitting this housing market out. And these are all very good reasons. Inflation, rising interest rates, rising home prices, a potential recession, U.S. politics, rising gas prices, geopolitical unrest. These are all the reasons that people are saying, I think I'll just hang tight for now. But you know for sure that most of these people are hanging on for lower interest rates, which once again is not the smartest thing. People should be hanging on for lower prices, not for lower interest rates. But people get, I guess, brainwashed by the mainstream media, and this is what they're doing.
This house is actually a rental, and they tried getting $26,000 a month back in March, and now they lowered it to $21,350, so it's much more affordable now, so it should be flying off the market any day now. And check this out. They bought this house back in 2021 for $2.39 million, right? Well, here's the kicker. Watch how this affects the property taxes. Previous owner was paying $8,800 a year. As soon as they bought this place, wham, went up to $28,000 in 2021, and as of 2022, property tax bill was $38 grand.
Now, by no means am I saying that everybody should just wait for lower prices, because depending on where you live, prices might still be going up, right? And I mean, look, guys, I live in the hottest housing market in the country, okay? Miami has been the hottest housing market in the US for like the past 2 or 3 years in a row straight right now. And you guys have seen on my walks how much things cost here. And, do I regret buying when I did? No, I don't, because it would be even more expensive for me to buy today than it was when I did, But that's something that's kind of unpredictable. And when you look at a city like Miami, we saw a 50% crash in the last housing crash in home prices. And with how uncertain things look right now, you have to use your best judgment and know your market well enough to say, hey, should I be worried about home prices coming down 20 or 30% here over the span of a few years? Is that likely to happen? Only you know, because I don't know where you live. I don't know your market. I think it's pretty safe to say that the current economic conditions just don't make sense, and I don't think there's any more bags of tricks left to maintain this madness much longer. I mean, I could be wrong, guys. That's just my educated guess and what I think's happening. Could the government pull out another rabbit out of the hat and continue to prolong the economy and make things continue to go up artificially? Probably. I don't underestimate them after things that they pulled during the pandemic. So who knows what they're capable of. But the real thing is that sustainable, and do you want to be on the hook for these high mortgage payments right now when you could just rent for $1,000 a month less? So that's really the question you need to be asking yourself at the moment. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the bell notification down below. Subscribe to the channel, guys, for more content like this. And if you don't want to wait for my next video, check out this one right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.